Back to our top story. New information on the suspected shooter in yesterday's rampage that left 17 people dead. People who know him say Nicholas Cruz has been showing signs of mental illness for years, including disturbing social media posts and violent behavior.
Yeah, according to forensic psychiatrist Dr. Carole Lieberman, Cruz has been a ticking time bomb for years, and she joins us right now. Dr. Lieberman, thank you for being here. I want to start with something positive and encouraging in the depth of the grief and the sadness that we're experiencing. There's a vigil going on right now in Florida. Thousands, a sea of people are coming together, trying to sort of hold each other up, support each other, one another. They're obviously in a lot of pain, though. What do you say to these people who are experiencing such deep and profound grief?
It's very hard to say anything that's going to really have an impact at this point. It's more showing up, hugging, doing things for them, you know, of course. But the problem with this particular mourning is because there's a lot of anger, as well there should be. There's a lot of anger from the parents of the children who were killed or injured, because this should never have happened. He was, as you said, it was a ticking time bomb, and he was giving out cries for help for his whole life.
You say people failed the victims.
Yes.
Who failed?
Well, we start off with his biological parents, who gave him up for adoption. Then he was adopted, and his father died his adoptive father died when he was 6 years old. Not that, you know, his father wanted to die, but of course this made him feel all the more abandoned and unloved. And then there were signs when he was a young child. He was killing animals. He was torturing animals. That's a pathognomonic sign of someone who's a psychopath, who's going to grow up to be a psychopath, and that's what happened. And so, you know, I blame, in a sense, it sounds awful, but his parents should have made more of an effort to keep him in treatment. I know they brought him there. We don't know exactly all the details of what his mental illnesses were. That autism has been thrown around, but that really wouldn't account for this in itself. He may well have had a predisposition to more serious mental illnesses from his biological parents that we don't know about because, you know, they haven't come forward if they're around. And then, of course, the school. You know, when schools expel students and they think, well, you know, now he's not my problem anymore, that shouldn't happen. Because if a child needs to be expelled like he did for being threatened and so on, threatening the other students, then he should be made to be in some kind of mental health treatment and not be allowed. He left treatment over a year ago.
Well, then also we should note his adoptive mother suddenly died.
Yes, that's
last year, right?
that is the triggering event. Absolutely, she was the last person in his life who he felt, you know, cared about him, and that was the triggering event. And when, of course, Valentine's Day, it's not a coincidence that he picked Valentine's Day, because in a sense, that tells his whole life story. He felt unloved by his biological parents who gave him up for adoption. He felt unloved by other people in his life. Nobody heard him. He kept telling people about the guns. He kept posting things on social media. I mean, how could he have made it? He couldn't have made it any clearer. He said, in fact, on social media, "I want to be a professional school shooter."
But that guy did turn that in.
And yes,
whoever saw that turned that in.
He saw that. That
FBI,
was
right?
exactly. There was a YouTube.
Yes,
correct. That's
and
right.
he told the FBI and also the cops.
He took a screenshot. He did report it, and then again, what happened?
Yes,
right.
and the mother, the adoptive mother, called police to their house at least 10 times. Why didn't the police do something more? You know, what did they say? Be a good boy? I mean, this is, so it's real, to go back to your question, it's really hard in a case like this to console the grieving families because there's so much anger that they have for this having happened in the first place.
But yet, through all these signs you're describing, he was able to legally buy this weapon.
And yes, the loophole that let him, if he had been committed, which he should have been, to a psychiatric hospital, because, you know, the criteria are danger to self, danger to others, or unable to provide food and shelter for yourself. And clearly, if he let everybody know he wanted to be a school shooter, he would have let the mental health professionals know, and they should have hospitalized him, and this wouldn't have happened.
Can we go back to a point that you made earlier, which I think was really good, about the red flags? We knew about him posing with the photos on Instagram. He was expelled for disciplinary reasons. He'd threatened other students there. But he hurt and killed and tortured, I believe, animals right? Some of our most notorious serial killers, Ted Bundy, hurt
Yes.
animals, right, and killed Jeffrey Dahmer, David Berkowitz, son of Sam.
Yes.
So that should be a red flag maybe for people out there. If you know or see somebody
Yes.
that's injuring dogs, shooting dogs with BB guns even, that's not a harmless thing.
That's right. It's not
Right?
fun and games. It's one of the symptoms of the triad for a psychopath. That, bedwetting, and setting fires. So that was, we know he had
bedwetting.
one.
I didn't know bedwetting. Okay.
Yes, we know he had at least one of this, and he might well have had the others as well. But you know, to go back to the school expelling him, when the school expelled him, and that wasn't that long ago, that re-evoked the memories of his being expelled, in a sense, from his biological parents. Nobody cared about him. They just sent him out into the world, and his rage continued to manifest itself. The animals and now the people.
Well, we're hearing today that he's remorseful, though. Law enforcement, they're saying he's expressed some remorse. I don't know to what degree, but I've read that, so, you know.
Well, you know, it's possible. I mean, he's wounded. I mean, that's why, you know, that's why it's so infuriating that all of these signs were mixed. You know, deep down when he was born, other than the fact that he might have had some predisposition to mental illness, but when he was born, you know, if he had been nurtured in a positive kind of way, and if people had been paying more attention to him and his signs of distress, this wouldn't have happened.
It's truly sad. All right. Be sure to check out your book. I want to talk about your book. Dr. Lieberman's book, Lions and Tigers and Terrorists, How to Protect Your Child in a Time of Terror. The fact that we have to talk about this with children is just so disheartening.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Lieberman.
Thank you.